section 16 subsection 2, further they added here clause AA. Clause AA has been added. Section 16 subsection 2 clause AA, which says that the details of the invoice or debit note referred to in clause A has been furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supplies, and such details have been communicated to the recipient of such invoice or debit note in the manner specified under section 737. Meaning what? Meaning what? Assume a scenario. Mr. X is a supplier of the goods. Who is a registered person? Mr. X is a supplier of the goods. He is a registered person. I am Mr. Y. I am also a registered person. Now, in the month of September, on 26th of September 2023, X supplied the goods to me. Same day, 26th September 2023, I received the goods as well as invoice. Now, hey Mr. X, for output liability of the September month, you should show in your GSTR1 return. Section 37 talks about GSTR1 return. Hey Mr. X, you supply the goods to Y in the month of September. Yes sir. You are going to file the return monthly. Yes sir. If so, by 11th of October, you have to file what? GSTR1 return. GSTR1 return, output tax liability. In that return, X, you have to show clearly that invoice number, invoice date, the buyer name, the value, and the GST. That means, as long as the transaction B2B, intrastate or interstate, such outward supplies, detailed manner, invoice wise, you have to furnish in the GSTR1 return. Consolidated values are not allowed. Mr. X, you supply the goods to Y. That invoice, that number, the date, the value, the buyer name, buyer GSTIN, GST thereon, all you have to furnish in the GSTR1 return. Furnished? Furnished, sir. In that case, further, one more clause has been added here from 1st October 2022, stating that section 16 subsection 2 clause BA has been added, saying that the output tax liability of GSTR1 of Mr. X in our given example is auto-populated in the buyer Mr. Y buyer GSTR 2B statement, which is a credit statement. Under this, section 38 says that allowable credit only avail, meaning thereby there part 1, part 2, where in the GSTR 2B return of buyer auto-populated as the buyer credit, where she should be shown means under the GSTR 2B input tax credit statement in the GST network portal. There are two parts are available, part 1, part 2. Part 1, which says that eligible input tax credit which the recipient can avail the utilize input tax credit. That means the supplier, when supplying that particular goods or services and uploading the GSTR1 return, you have to be specify that as a supplier, you have to specify that recipient eligible for ITC. Then in the GSTR 2B of recipient, it is going to be pop up in part 1, eligible to avail and utilize the input tax credit. And this particular recipient, by opening the GSTR 2B return and confirm, yes, this is my credit, submit, confirm my credit. So I avail the credit. There is part 2 also. The second part, there is a second part of GSTR 2B. In the case of recipient, shall provide details of such supplies in respect of which input tax credit cannot be availed by the recipient wholly or partly as may be prescribed. Whatever amount is mentioned in the part 2 of GSTR 2B is not at all allowed to avail the credit. And the GSTR 2B, for the sake of information, is a static report. One cannot able to alter. Thereby, the law here says that it is auto-populating. You need not want to put your finger and alter the values to avail the ITC. It is an amended provision which one can look in the examination point of view. The above section introduces, namely section 16, subsection 2, class AB. Read with section 38. The above section introduces a complete new mechanism under which the auto-generated GSTR 2B shall itself decide and provide that the list of invoices or the list of debit notes on which ITC can be claimed by the taxpayer, namely recipient, is deciding. As a result, recipient shall have not to do any work on to locate the supplier whose supply shall not be eligible for the purpose of input tax credit as per section 38. He is not bothered whether it is allowable credit to me or not. As long as the supplier supplied and upload the GST return, that time he decides whether eligible credit to claim ITC or not. And if it is the part 1 of the GSTR 2B, avail the ITC and utilize the ITC. The second part of the GSTR 2B statement, wholly or partly ITC not allowed. In that case, not allowed only. You are not going to be put your fingers to repair the GSTR 2B, not allowed. It's a static report. Resultantly, here a question I am asking, whether is it mandatory to claim ITC as per GSTR 2B generated under section 38? Absolutely mandatory. Meaning thereby GSTR 2A has been vanished. Only 2B from 1st October 2022 is an amendment. For a recipient taxpayer, what he want to avail the input tax credit only as per the GSTR 2B, and that too part 1 of the GSTR 2B, the credit only avail and utilize. Avail and utilize. As per the newly inserted section 16, subsection 2, class BA of the CGST Act, it provides that mandatory condition that ITC claimed by the recipient should not be restricted under section 38. It should not be second part of the GSTR 2B. Hence, ITC restricted or ineligible as per the GSTR 2B cannot be claimed as per section 16, subsection 2, class BA, which is not allowed credit for you. So you, being a taxpayer, recipient, need not bothered about whether it is eligible credit or not. It is eligible, confirming by the GSTR 2B part 1. That only you can avail. That only you can be able to utilize. Thereby reduces a number of litigations with regard to availment of input tax credit and utilization of input tax credit. Further, sir, I purchased the goods in the month of September, or I received the services in the month of September on credit basis, sir. Payment not paid to my supplier, sir. My supplier is a very kind person, given the credit to me. 3 months credit is given, sir. I received the goods, sir, on credit basis. Goods came, tax invoice also came, and he shown in his tax liability GST 1 return, and he honestly paid also. I avail the input tax credit and I utilize the input tax credit, sir. But payment not paid to my supplier, sir. In such case, The law of the land here says that Mr. Recipient, being a taxpayer, you are allowed to avail the input tax credit even you receive the inward supplies on credit basis. But ensure that you have to make the payment to your supplier within 180 days from the date of invoice. From the date of invoice, within 180 days, you have to make the payment within that period. Namely, hardly you can say roughly 6 months. Within 6 months, you have to make the payment from the date of invoice. What is to be make the payment? Payment enter value. That means the value of the goods plus GST. Both you have to make the payment. If I have not made the payment, law of the land here says that you have to reverse the input tax if you not make the payment within 180 days. If you not paid within 180 days, you have to reverse the credit. You have to reverse the credit. When should I reverse the credit? Law says this month 180 days expired. Today 26th of September 180 days expired. From date of invoice. When I should reverse? In the next month. Next month means what? October month. October month I have to reverse. October month return I am going to file when? 20th November. That time should reverse. That much lengthy time you take to reverse, you are a loser of payment of higher amount of interest, because in the given case you have availed the input tax credit. When you avail input tax credit? 180 days before itself. That means that time not eligible to avail ITC, you avail because you have not made the payment within 180 days. In that case, from the date of utilization of input tax credit till the date of payment of that input tax credit, how to pay with the interest under section 50. Obviously, it is excess utilization of input tax credit. Generally, 24% interest will come into stand. 24% per annum interest. One arguing, sir, there is an amendment under section 50 of the CGST, namely interest not liable to pay. If it is liable to pay for delay payment, we are not liable to pay. Where if I have excess credit than that of my liability in my books of accounts in the electronic credit ledger, then one not required to pay interest. That is always there. You keep with you. Generally, I am telling you, if I have no credit and I am liable to reverse the credit, what I availed earlier, since I have not made the payment within 180 days, now I am going to reverse the credit. If I am going to reverse the credit, I have to reverse along with the interest at the rate of 24% per annum. In that case, why should I reverse in the next month and the next month return going to show in the subsequent month? In that case, a clarification here as a tax practitioner, tax planner, I am going to say that we are going to say that in the month of September 26th, September 2023, 180 days are over. Yes, 180 days are over today, sir. In that case, today you can reverse the credit in the month of September. September return is going to file by 20th of October. That time, you can number of days can be reduced to pay the interest. Rather than to file the return by 20th November, by reversing the credit in September and October month, for the month 180 days expired, succeeding month only reverse. Succeeding month is what? October. October month reverse. October month reverse. What you reverse in the month of October going to reflect in the return GSTR 3B, where it is in the what we can call November month. So much more delay takes place. Therefore, in the month of September, 180 days are over. You please reverse the credit in that same month, and same will be reflecting in the next month GSTR 1 return as your liability, and make the payment by 20th of October itself. Thereby, number of days delay will be reduced for computation of interest. Now, a doubt arises here. Sir, I paid, sir, to my supplier within 180 days, sir, but not fully, sir. Part amount I paid, sir. How much you paid? 50% I paid, sir. can I avail ITC proportionately for 50%? What I paid, proportionate credit can avail. Now the clarification very clearly says that in the given case of 1 days, if you part payment paid proportionately, you can avail input tax credit? Yes. For example, 100 lakhs worth of the goods I purchased, 18% GST, 18 lakhs. I paid 50 lakhs plus 9 lakhs. 59 lakhs I paid. Namely, 50% I paid. Can I avail on 50 lakhs, 9 lakhs input tax credit? Because I paid within 180 days. Yes, avail only. What is not availed, what is not paid, balance 50 lakhs. On with GST, 9 lakhs. Have you paid within 180 days? No, sir. Balance 50 lakhs. I have not paid within 180 days, sir. Format of invoice. In that case, for the balance what you not paid, GST 9 lakhs, alone you reverse. Whatever you paid within 180 days, format of invoice, proportionately can avail the ITC. This particular amendment provides this particular clarification, I can say, which gives clarity to avail the credit proportionately if I paid amount within 180 days format of invoice to my supplier. Proportionate amount I paid, the same proportion amount of credit I can avail. Balance credit I should reverse. It means to say that there is a clear-cut concept today. Time limit to make the payment to supplier within 180 days from the date of invoice. If paid partly within that 180 days, part amount of input tax credit allowed. Sir, I paid fully, sir. I paid fully. When I paid fully to my supplier after expiry of 180 days, that means on account of expiry of 180 days format of invoice, I reverse the credit. Reverse the credit, sir. At a later date, sir, January 2024, I got the payment, sir. I'm a very good buy, sir. Therefore, I paid the full amount to my supplier. Entire 100 lakhs worth of the goods I paid, as well as 18 lakhs of GST also I paid, sir. When I paid in the month of, for example, in the month of 31st of January 2024, sir. Why should be worried? When discount will come? No, I will say instead of January, sir, I paid in the month of June 2024, sir. Instead of in January means that 180 days may not be expired. Therefore, I purchase the goods. Like this, you can have January also can have no issue at all, because a particular oral explanation I am giving to you, no problem. I was purchased the goods long back, whose 180 days is expired today on 26th September 2023. 180 days are expired. I reverse the credit. How much? Entire credit what I availed, I reverse, because single rupee not paid. 100 lakhs worth of the goods not paid. On which GST 18 lakhs, I reversed now. So I reverse the credit. January 2024, I got the payment. As a good buy, I made the payment on 1st January itself. 1st January 2024 itself, I made the payment 100 lakhs as well as GST 18 lakhs. Now in the month of January, I paid the payment along with the tax. The tax, have I availed the ITC? No. What I was availed and reversed. Now I am asking you, please tell me, my tax consultant, in the month of January 2024, can I re-avail that credit as input tax credit? Yes, it is called as re-availment of credit. For your kind consideration and information, is a premature to refer, but you are mature enough to understand. It is a premature to refer, but you are mature enough to understand. For re-availment of credit, time limit prescribed under section 16, section 4 for availment of credit not applicable. For availment of credit under section 16 subsection 4 very clearly says that, hey Mr. Taxpayer, you want to avail the input tax credit on the tax invoice or e-invoice, you should avail the credit only within the time prescribed under section 16.4. What is the time? Section 16 subsection 4 speaks by 30th November of the succeeding financial year, or by filing the annual return among the two dates, whichever is earlier, within which you have to avail the ITC. For the year 23-24 financial year, invoice, if you have not availed in that year, you have to avail by 30th November of the 2024 or date of filing the annual return. GSTR 9, among the two, whichever date happens to happen earlier, within which you have to avail the ITC. Such a time limit for availment of ITC. In our given example, in the month of January 2024, I paid 100 lakhs to my supplier, old due I paid, along with the GST 18 lakhs. Can I re-avail the ITC? Because I already availed, reversed one only I am asking to re-avail. In that case, for re-availment of ITC, the time limit prescribed under section 16.4 not applicable. So, as you understood, here there is a third proviso to section 16 subsection 2. The recipient shall be entitled to avail of the credit of input tax on payment made by him of the amount towards the value of supply of goods or services, or both, along with the tax payable thereon at a subsequent date. After expiry of 20 days from the date of invoice, payment is made to the supplier, then on which input tax credit can be re-availed, for which time limit of section 16 subsection 4 not applicable. Section 16.4 of the CGST applies for availment of ITC time limit, not to re-avail the input tax credit. Further, I am bringing to a notice this particular section 16 subsection 2 class BA, where it says that part 1 of GSTR 2B credit can be availed and utilized. Second part of the GSTR 2B credit is restricted, not allowed, wholly or partly. In that case, what are the circumstances in which this particular GSTR 2B second part comes into picture to restrict credit wholly or partly? Restrictions imposed under section 38 of the CGST for which ITC cannot be availed are as follows. Here are the points not to avail the input tax credit by the recipient. Point number 1, related to suppliers who have taken new registration for such period as may be prescribed. First point itself, related to suppliers who have taken new registration for such period as may be prescribed. For them, input tax credit not allowed. For a non-resident taxable person, registration is compulsory. I will refer this point under the registration chapter. I already referred this point under the composition scheme. They are not eligible for composition scheme irrespective of the turnover, and the registration is mandatory. For them, input tax credit not allowed, because non-resident taxpayers are not eligible for input tax credit. Is a block credit for them, except one case where they imported goods by payment of IGST to Department of Customs. That alone can avail the ITC. Remaining whatever they procured, they are not eligible to claim ITC. Case where related to supplier who have taken new registration for such period as may be prescribed. Non-resident taxable person not eligible to avail input credit, except IGST paid on import of goods. Further, point number 2, related to suppliers who have defaulted in payment of tax and default continues for such period as may be prescribed. Meaning what? I am not filing the return. If I am not filing the return, how can I avail the ITC? Not filing the return means not paying the tax. Payment of tax only by which of filing the return. This is what linked. Return filing and payment of tax is linked now. Just 3B is return filing, that is nothing but payment of tax to department. Not that debit to my bank account, credit to the electronic credit ledger in the network portal, not the payment department. I should redeem from the electronic cash ledger my amount in favor of department. Then only is payment. How it is possible? Only on account of submission of GST or 3B return. I have defaulted making the payment, meaning thereby I haven't filed the return, meaning thereby if I have due to pay the tax. I have due to pay the tax. Keeping the due, I can't file the return. The meaning of it is linked. Payment of tax and submission of return is linked one with the other. Therefore, in the given case, a supplier who defaulted to make the payment of tax and the default continues for a period of time, for the period of time, in such cases, and those persons are not eligible to avail the input tax credit. Further, related to suppliers who have declared output tax liability more in GSTR 1 but paid less tax in the GSTR 3B. As a supplier, I showed my output tax liability 12 lakhs. But in the return, when I am going to pay GST, I paid only 2 lakhs. GST 1 liability to pay GST 12 lakhs, but I paid the GST while submitting the GST 3B only. I shown the liability and I paid the liability only 2 lakhs. That means to say that liability shown to pay GST more in the GST 1 return, but paid far lesser than the GST 1. In that case, input tax credit not eligible. ITC claimed more than ITC auto-populated in the GST 2B. Now it is not possible, this point is not possible now because you are not going to interfere. Earlier GST 2B as static report, and apart from that electronic credit ledger permitting us to add some additional credit which is omission taken place earlier. Now we can add it by editing the GST, the electronic credit ledger. Electronic credit ledger is editable. Now electronic credit ledger is not editable. If it is editable, if you take more credit than the GST 2B credit, in that case your credit is restricted. Further, ITC claimed in violation of condition prescribed in section 49 subsection 12 of CGST Act, namely maximum proportion of output tax liability which may be discharged through electronic credit ledger. What do you mean this point, sir? This point brings us to pay at least 1% through electronic cash ledger my output tax liability, even though I have in my books more credit than that of the GST liability. Understandably not understand, sir. I will refer this with the help of illustrative example, this particular section 49 subsection 12. It is there in our material here itself under rule number 86B. That 86B now has been replaced as a section also. 185, page number 185 if you refer is available. Restrictions on use of amount available electronic credit ledger, rule number 86B. That 86B rule number has been replaced as now section from 1st October 2022. Section 49 section 12 of the CGST Act has been inserted concerning the above rule. This insertion gives rule number 86B legal backing. That means to say that rule is below the section. Section is legal backup. Therefore, rule number 86 capital B, what it says, supported by way of section 46 subsection. Section 49, sorry to say, section 49 subsection 2, not 46 sir, section 49 subsection 12, supporting. What is section 49 subsection 12 of the CGST? Read with rule number 86 capital B. It says, here they said 99%. What do you mean this? How to understand this? For a taxpayer whose taxable supplies other than exempted, other than zero rated supplies exceeds 50 lakhs in a month, your supplies more than 50 lakhs in a month, which is not exempted nature, not exported nature, supply to domestic tariff area. What is the turnover per month? More than 50 lakhs, sir. For you, rule number 86 capital B is applicable. The same rule supported under section 49 subsection 12. What it says, look here my dear sir, I will present here, that will make you crystal clear understanding in this regard with one example. Sir, X Limited, registered person. Here monthly turnover more than 50 lakh of rupees, more than 50 lakhs of rupees, exceeds 50 lakhs in a month. So monthly turnover more than 50 lakhs. If there is a case for a given month, let us say in the month of September 2023, what is the liability? Electronic liability ledger shows here, for example, 10 lakhs is the liability, for example, for a given month. Then here electronic credit ledger, how much it is available with them? Their credit is 12 lakhs. So electronic credit ledger is more than the electronic liability ledger. Now can adjust full amount. Rule number 86 capital B says no. You can utilize only 99% of your liability, of which 99% only can utilize from your electronic credit ledger. Meaning what? How much comes here? 9 lakh 90,000, correct? And 10 lakhs 99%, how much amma? You have
9 lakh 90,000.
that much utilize here. 9 lakh 90,000 utilize. And excess credit is there, sir? Yes, is there. How much it is there here? 2 lakh 10,000. It is excess credit can be carried forward to the next month, namely October. So you have to pay now 1% here. How much comes here? 1% how much? 10,000. So pay through electronic cash ledger minimum 1%. Your output tax liability should pay minimum 1% through electronic cash ledger. You have to pay minimum 1% through electronic cash ledger. It is applicable to whom? It is applicable to those taxpayers who paying the tax, whose turnover is more than 50 lakhs in a financial year. I mean, more than 50 lakhs in a month. In a financial year, in a month, the turnover exceeds 50 lakhs. For them, this provision apply. This provision is rule number 86 capital B. Read with section 49 subsection 12. If you violate this provision, where it is applicable to follow like this, if you violate section 49 section 12, you are not eligible to avail the input tax credit, is the meaning of it. Credit restricted under section 38. There may be a possibility a question may going to come in the examination. Explain situations in which restrictions imposed under section 38 for which ITC cannot be availed, question mark. Explain these explanations. 5 points, 5 marks. One of the important amended provision under the input tax credit, rule number 37 capital A. Reversal of input tax credit in case of non-payment of tax by the supplier, thereafter reavailment of credit. What do you mean this? As you are aware of that, under section 16 subsection 2, one of the important condition to avail the input tax credit by the recipient is the supplier of the goods or services should make the payment to the department. If the supplier not made the payment to department, the recipient not eligible to avail the input tax credit. Here the amended provision has been brought into force by saying that what is the time on or before of that time should reverse the credit if the supplier not made the payment to department. In the given case, my dear friends, if you refer this newly inserted rule, rule number 37 capital A says that as a supplier of the goods or services for the month of September 23, for example, I should submit this particular output tax liability of mine in my GSTR 1 return, and same should be submit in the GST network portal my GSTR 1 return. In the GSTR 1 return, supplier should furnish the details of the outward supply where he supplied the goods or services to the recipient by passing the credit. If so, the supplier should use the GST 1 return for the month of September by 11th of October, submit monthly filing the return. Submit the GST 1 return by showing this liability. GST 1 return shows the liability of outward supply by a supplier. He submit the return by furnishing the GSTR 1 return. In that, his outward liability has been shown. The same invoice being a recipient, I purchase the goods or receive the services. It is auto-populating the recipient books of accounts, especially in the GST network portal. GSTR 2B statement, part 1 information clearly shows this particular inward supply and it is eligible credit for me. I avail the credit. In the month of September, I avail the credit because supplier furnished the GST 1 return. This outward supply is auto-populated in the GSTR 2B statement as eligible credit. I avail the ITC. For the month of September, this recipient who is having the eligible credit is utilizing while furnishing the GSTR 3B return by 20th of the following month. While furnishing the GSTR 3B return, this particular recipient utilizes the input tax credit. But that supplier who furnished the GSTR 1 return by showing my inward supply as his outward supply in the GSTR 1 return, but that supplier not furnished GSTR 3B return, thereby not paid the tax to department. For the month of September supplies, GSTR 1 return submitted, but GSTR 3B not submitted by the supplier. As a recipient, I utilize the input tax credit. If so, supplier not paid the tax to department. Recipient should reverse the credit or not? When should reverse? The time limit has been prescribed under the rule number 37 capital A. Mr. Recipient, you don't worry. Wait for some time. The time limit is there to make the payment of this by submission of GSTR 3B for supplier up to 30th September of the succeeding financial year. So, in the month of September 2023, submit the GSTR 1 return, but for that particular September return, GSTR 3B not submitted. If so, for the year 2024, subsequent financial year 24-25, in that 24-25 financial year, there is time limit up to 30th September 2024 is time limit is available to submit the GSTR 3B return by showing that liability. It is not 1 year. It is 30th September of the succeeding financial year. Fortunately, in our given case, it is September month. We are in September month, I use the September month. If I am in March 2024 for the year 23-24 financial year, March month supplies, he is not paid the tax, time limit 30th September only. So, for the financial year 23-24, GSTR 1 return submitted for a tax period, but GSTR 3B not submitted by the supplier, means not paid the amount of tax to department. In such case, time limit to submit this particular output tax liability for payment by filing the GSTR 3B return is 30th September of the succeeding financial year for a supplier. If he submitted, sir, within 30th September of the succeeding financial year, he filed the return of GSTR 3B, sir, then this particular recipient, whatever he availed the input tax credit on that particular invoice, not required to reverse. Suppose if that supplier not furnished the GSTR 3B return, means not paid the amount even till the 30th September of the succeeding financial year, not at all filed. In that case, for a recipient who availed the input tax credit, he should reverse his credit. What is the reversal of credit time limit for the recipient? Means on or before 30th November of the succeeding financial year from the relevant financial end of the relevant financial year. For the year 23-24 financial year, I avail the input tax credit, my supplier not paid till 30th of September of the succeeding financial year. Then I have time limit October month in the succeeding financial year, November month, there are 2 months. On or before 30th November of the succeeding financial year, I should reverse the credit. If I reverse the credit in my books of accounts, taken my liability and I submitted the GSTR 3B return, I taken as a liability. That means I reverse the credit. Then I am a goodbye. Not required to pay any interest because I reverse the credit in time. On or before 30th November, if I have not reversed the credit, I am going to reverse the credit after 30th November of the succeeding financial year. Then the law of the land says that you have violated rule number 37 capital A. Therefore, you have to pay with the interest under section 50, where it is input tax credit availed wrongly, then not reversed also. In that case, at the rate of 24% per annum interest, I am bound to pay from the date of utilization of input tax credit till the date of reversal or payment of the tax takes place. When I have not reversed the credit on or before 30th November, where my supplier not filed the GSTR 3B return till the end of 30th September of the succeeding financial year. This point, now I am referring by reading this particular content. As per this newly inserted rule, rule number 37 capital A, where the input tax credit has been availed by a registered person in the form GSTR 3B for a tax period in respect of such invoice or debit note, the details of which have been furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supplies in form GSTR 1 or using the invoice furnishing facility as the case may be, but the return in the form GSTR 3B for the tax period corresponding to the said statement of outward supplies has not been furnished by such supplier till the 30th day of September following the end of the financial year in which the output tax credit in respect of such invoice or debit note has been availed. The said amount of input tax credit shall be reversed by the said registered person while furnishing the return in the form GSTR 3B on or before 30th day of November of the following end of the financial year. That means to say that I will provide to you with the example, don't worry at all. Here furthermore presenting such violation will attract interest at the rate of 24% per annum. Sir, at a later date, after the 30th September, the supplier furnished the particular GSTR 3B return, sir, means paid the tax, sir. Can I re-avail the credit after reversal? Yes, re-availment of ITC always allowed, but whatever interest you paid in between, you cannot get back. Re-availment of ITC only can avail. This can be presented in front of you. Yes, this I am presenting in front of you with a diagrammatic presentation to make you understand. After having the diagrammatic presentation of this concept, again I am going to explain with the help of numeric example in this regard. Till you have the doubt, you are most welcome to ask. First, listen the concept. This is an important concept, newly inserted rule, rule number 37A, which is applicable for your coming exam of November or December 2023 exam onwards. Therefore, I am presenting here with the diagrammatic presentation is as follows. The rule is as follows. This rule talks about rule number 37 capital A, reversal of input tax credit in case of non-payment of tax by the supplier. In this regard, presenting here outward supplies furnished by the supplier in the GSTR 1 return but not submitted the GSTR 3B till the end of the 30th September of the year of following financial year. Is meaning what? X Limited supplier supplied the goods to Y Limited. What value? 100 lakhs. What is the amount of GST? 28% GST, 28 lakhs. So my invoice 100 lakhs value of inward supply plus my input tax credit 28 lakhs. So my supplier issue the invoice and supply the goods. Both I received. And I made the payment to my supplier. But my supplier X Limited shown this particular output tax liability, this invoice in the GSTR 1 return and submitted. Yes, I supply the goods to Y Limited. I am liable to pay 28 lakhs of GST because I supply the value of the goods 100 lakhs. Like that, that invoice details furnished in the GSTR 1 return and the same submitted in the department network portal. So, for the month of September, X Limited created the liability and same shown in the GSTR 1 return. Then is auto populating Y Limited GSTR 2B static statement part 1. Input tax credit can be availed and utilized. When I open the GSTR 2B return, there in the statement, I notice my credit is available, which is 28 lakhs. I confirm, I avail the credit in the month of September. Now the supplier should make the payment or not for the given tax liability created in the GSTR 1 return? Yes or no? Liable to pay, no? Supplier. Huh? Supplier issue the invoice for 100 lakhs plus GST 28% and supply the goods also. Supplier when supplied in the month of September. September month supplies he shown in the return GST1 return by 11th of October as his liability 28 lakhs, he submit the return. The same liability he has to pay by filing the GST 3B. But he is not submitted the GST 3B return. Shown in the return of GST 1 as liability and it auto-populated to the recipient as a credit and a credit available by the recipient in the month of September. But the supplier not paid that amount by submission of GST 3B. Not paid. Recipient who has eligible input tax credit in the GST 2B part 1 and the same he utilized while submitting his GST 3B return, he utilized it and paid the balance amount to department. That means input tax credit of 28 lakhs on inward supply of 100 lakhs, 28 lakhs of GST credit availed and utilized by the recipient, namely Y Limited. In the month of September 23, this transaction happened. But supplier paid or not paid to department. Now, can this particular recipient should reverse the credit or not? A point. Before that, what I mentioned here, look, outward supplies furnished by the supplier in his GST1 return but not submitted the GST 3B. That means not paid the same amount to department till the 30th September of the year following the financial year. That means for the year 2023-24 till 30th September 2024 not paid this amount by submission of GST 3B. There are two questions for the decision making. There may be yes, there may be no. First I am presenting here no. That means what? Not submitted GST 3B. Here this is output no. That means submitted the GST 3B. That means supplier submitted GST 3B return on or before the due date, that is 30th September of the succeeding financial year within which he submitted GST 3B. If so, the recipient whatever availed the input tax credit is availed only, not required to reverse. At the same time, no interest arises here. No need to reverse the input tax credit claimed earlier. Interest under section 50 is not applicable because the supplier may not be submitted for the September month by 20th of October, but he submitted by 30th of the September of the succeeding financial year he submitted. So he honored rule number 37A. Therefore, this fellow whatever input tax credit availed is availed only, not required to reverse. Suppose that supplier X Limited in our given example supplied the goods in the month of September 23, 100 lakhs, GST liability he created in the GST1 return 28 lakhs, not submitted by payment of the GST 3B not submitted till the end of the succeeding financial year, namely 30th September of the succeeding financial year, not submitted the return. Yes, not submitted. Yes. If so, this recipient not eligible to avail the input tax credit. He should reverse now. When should reverse means on or before 30th November of the succeeding financial year. For the year 23-24, succeeding financial year 24-25. In the 24-25 financial year, 30th November 2024, on or before that date, I should reverse the credit. That means after 30th September, but on or before 30th November, I should reverse the credit. Here, ITC reversed by the recipient in his GST 3B on or before 30th November of the year following financial year. For the given decision making also, there are two possibilities, yes or no. Suppose here, if it is no, no means what? ITC reversed by the recipient in his GST 3B on or before 30th November of the financial year That means here the question is reversed? No, not reversed. No, not reversed. That means what? He is going to reverse after 30th November. In that case means what? The recipient is violated rule number 37A. Therefore, the recipient is liable for payment of interest also under section 50 at the rate of 24% per annum. This 24% per annum count reckoned from which date? No, from the date of utilization of input tax credit till the date of payment. Since you have not paid to department, that means you have not reversed your input tax credit on or before 30th November of the financial year. Therefore, you have to pay with the interest under section 50 from the date of utilization of the input tax credit till the date of payment, till the date of reversal. You have to pay interest at the rate of 24% per annum. Very huge, stringent, painful provision it is. Sir, I filed, sir, GST 3B return by reversing my credit, sir, on or before 30th November of the succeeding financial year, sir. Yes, sir. I'm a good boy. Then reverse it without payment of any interest. Interest is not applicable.